Okay, so we are back in open session. Next item, President's Report, very short, Belleville Music Festival was I think a great success. It was great to see Finjuck Miles had a good successful event, very hot weather, pretty brutal. Community picnics coming up this week.
Yep.
I'm sure Gary would be happy to have more volunteers.
Yep.
I know I'll be working to cook shanty for at least one night, so.
How the guy was they took in from?
Finjuck Miles, no, I didn't know that they had somebody.
Well, I almost called the police myself because they waited way too long to call anybody. He was really.
Other than that, I don't have anything.
Oh,
Sorry, Mike, I gone, get that part. Escapes.
Couple of things for you, facade grant. The CDEA has revisited the facade grant. I'm not necessarily asking for your approval on it because it's the CDA's program. They have the ability to make that edit. But you guys fund that program. So if you guys don't like it, you're not gonna fund it. So it doesn't make sense for, all that. So take a look at that. Let me know if you have any questions. CDA is on board for that. The biggest change out of anything is that it's kind of anything exterior and it doesn't just do downtown. The CDA decided, hey, let's do the, like having by the Piggly Wiggly, if we get more community development on the west side, north side, east side, south side, those developments should deserve the facade grant. So it's pretty straightforward, actually kind of clears things up a lot. And I think we came up with a new application for it. So it just kind of, it cleans up that. Take a look at that.
I sent you a couple of comments on that already, Gabe, so just FYI.
Yep, I saw that. So take a look at those. What?
we need money.
The financial management plan, I'm attaching that for more informational purposes. This is what Brian worked on from last year's budget. This is what it'll look like for next year's. And then, so each year we will have a financial management plan looking like this. It kind of helps guide our 5-year decision-making process. And then the strategic plan, you're not making any decisions tonight. Take a look at this. We will approve that at the next board meeting. Gary already noticed that some of the page counts are off. So take a look, ask me any questions. Hope to get that approved next board. And my last comment is I'm doing an coffee with the administrator on Wednesday from 7:30 to 9:30 at the Llama. I'll just be posted up at the Llama, and if anybody has any questions or want to talk to me about anything, they're more than welcome to chat.
That's for residents, not for board members or both.
Oh, anybody,
I'm not coming down there.
anybody and everybody. 7:30.
You're buying the coffee?
No, I think they can buy the cup. I'll buy their water. That's all I got.
At what time was that?
7:30 and 9:30
In the morning.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday?
Just this Wednesday.
So this is-
I could do it more often, but I just figured we need to get that going again. So
Actually, I should have done it tomorrow morning, because when we get out of here at 12:30, then you guys have spent the night here and,
my day is packed.
Wednesday's still gonna be busy and it works. Aaron,
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple comments about, so we had some training a couple weeks ago. You're gonna see a couple changes in regards to minutes, just to streamline them. If anything, this is it aligns well minutes are supposed to be. One, because we're too wordy in them anyway. Second, it'll cost save us because since minutes have to be printed in the newspaper, the word count is getting astronomical. We're spending $400 per minute to publish those. So they're gonna look less, they're gonna look cleaner, and they're gonna be more aligned with minutes because minutes are about what was done, not what was said. So I just wanted to tease that before you start seeing some changes in the minutes as we go implementing. We are in-person voting right now. At the moment, we're at 138 absentee ballots returned of 252 we've sent out. That's slightly under where we were 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had 224 absentees returned. So we're going to get close to that, I think. But that voting will be through the end of this Friday, and then the election is next Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's all I'm going to say.
I hate to admit this, but what's even on the ballot on county exec?
So these are your
On the wall?
window. These are your partisan primaries for not only state, county. There are a couple referendums on the back and the nonpartisan race if you're Dane County.
Okay.
Thank you. So old business, discuss and review property RFP responses. I think we already talked about most of that in closed session. I don't think there's anything else that we need to take action on relative to that. It was really guidance that we're giving to the consultants as to how to move forward for information that they're gonna pursue getting from the bidders or the individuals that have submitted bids, I think is probably sufficient to outline that conflict.
So you have 3 bidders?
There are at least 3 bidders. I think there's
There's another group that,
tentative one that might be interested, but like, we haven't gotten a formal thing from them yet, from what I see.
and then they will, once we kind of go through this review process, the board's kind of given advice and things that they would like to get a little bit more information on. Once that process is kind of completed and all the presentations are as strong as they possibly can be, they will make those formal presentations to the public and the board at that time. So don't worry that you will get
Yeah, we're
that
not
full
at a
presentation.
decision point at all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, anything further on that one from anybody? Next, discuss and consider resolution 2024-20 approving an amendment to the project plan of tax increment district number 3. So this is, I think, culmination of the first meeting at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and then the plan commission meeting as well. So this is just the change. Brian, go ahead. You can.
Yeah, I'll just say we obviously provided the full project plan, and then I also provided this kind of landscape version that hits the highlights. So that's in your packets. I didn't hand it out, but I have hard copies if you guys want that. But it's in your packet because we were able to do that ahead of time. You guys are adding projects, not boundaries. So you're not changing the boundaries. We're just adding the projects as previously discussed, which includes both administrative and, actual hard project costs. We can review that list if you'd like, just to make sure here. I think that's probably worthwhile at minimum. So this is page 9 of the handout that I sent, or it says
Is it the
project list.
Presentation.
Yep, that
The
should be
project plan amendment, or is it the other?
presentation.
It's the presentation.
Yeah, and then it should be the 9th page on there. It says project list. Otherwise, I can hand out a hard copy if I need.
I've got.
So that we're adding, so you have to show your original costs from the original project plan so that we don't change. We just add to it if necessary. So we are adding costs to the Highway 6992 improvements, development incentives, which is related to Colt Drive. And then the new costs are all ID 13 and down. So those are basically everything from the list. And again, this does not obligate you to do those. All this is doing is allowing you to recoup tax increment revenue to pay for those. So again, not obligating you to do them. And you also have to list now DORs, making the admin costs be explicit and the finance costs to be kind of outset. So really, the interest on the prospective long-term financing from, these note anticipation notes, whatever you guys decide, that number's on, that's 3.2 million, just identified that. So if you're like, whoa, the total project cost went up, that's not true. We have to include the financing element. So, and then we also, we did closing audit because technically that wasn't explicit in the original project plan. So we're just trying to be all encompassing here to make sure we're covering it. And it can, all other things being equal with heavy levels of conservatism, basically saying no rooftops besides for Colt Drive under their old numbers. And the no economic develop or economic appreciation, that this would close a year in advance of final year of the extension. So you're eligible for 2 3-year extensions. That does not require board action. It requires joint review board action. However, we discussed it at the last board meeting that we're moving forward with this. Obviously, it kind of started with the Colt Drive discussions last year, that it would necessitate the 6-year extension. And then, however, that does not mean that you stay open for those 6 years. Once you've paid off all project costs. Done.
Move that we approve resolution 2024-20.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Kurt. Any further discussion?
So just to follow up to what I asked before, the number of lots that are listed in the project plan, even though it's not what they are gonna be now, that's fine.
Yeah, I think after hearing today's discussion with them and kind of how this is mechanically working, probably just. We have the language in there that kind of says this is that point in time. I guess I'd maybe even point to Rick to say, do you think we need to change that at all, or?
No, it gives us,
Some leeway.
yeah, discretion
Okay.
to adjust to change in
Okay,
conditions.
as long as you guys are fine with it, I'm.
Yeah.
Are there any blind spots that we've got here? Is there anything that we're not thinking? We've talked about this a lot. I know it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
I mean, I know we're not committing to doing all of it at once, obviously, or any of it at once. But is there anything like, I'll make an analogy,
Mhm.
right? I've heard stories about when the library was built, that the guidance from our advisors may not have been to do what happened.
Mhm.
This isn't that, I don't think. But that's, I want you to be our guardrails and be truthful with this, which I know you will be, but that's what I'm asking.
yeah.
Is if you were, if I was your individual client, which we are, right, would you say, Ford, you're making, this is an okay decision. I'm comfortable with the numbers that you've given us, that I'm providing, like, this is reasonable. We've got the revenue that'll be able to cover it. It's not gonna be a horrible decision. Like, horrible things can happen. I'm not trying to hold you accountable for that, but just, I think you understand where I'm coming.
A recognition of what assumptions are.
Right.
You know, so reading through that project plan and looking at the increment projected, you know, again, it's kind of, we have a slightly decreasing tax rate built in. We have no economic appreciation built in. A factor of consideration would be, what is the future interest rate on the long-term takeout? I think if you execute all the projects, right, and then let's say late 2025, the interest rates are 12%. The economics have changed considerably, right? So I think as you're executing those projects in the next 12 months, and I made the suggestion at the last meeting, we should have a goal to say no more, you know, at September of next year, to give yourself some financial runway to look at what the market is doing. Do we wait, or do we, you know, strike immediately in September? Or maybe it's earlier than that. We say we're only doing the property purchase and one of these other things, we're not doing anything else. You know, if that's your discretion, I'm just saying, setting that timeline, I think, will be imperative. So, you know, all right, we're going to get bids on all of these, or at least, you know, the ones we are for sure wanting to do, and getting those in an advantageous manner, figuring out kind of a game plan.
Let me phrase it a different way. This isn't keeping you up at night if we make the decision to move forward.
No, the agreements,
Makes sense.
yeah, the agreement and the one developer item here is ironed out in a manner that's suitable to the village's needs, not suitable to the developer's needs.
Thank you. Any other questions from Brian? We got a motion by Gary, seconded by Kurt. Let's do roll call. No, Connie, I'm sorry. Go for it.
What are we buying?
We're not buying anything. This is final decision relative to structuring and naming all the possible projects for the TID
Sorry,
that we might move forward with.
my ear heard something about buying. Okay, I'm fine.
If we're buying land, is one of the proposals that we'd buy some land on the west side that would be part of the industrial areas, one of the proposed projects. So that's what he was talking
Okay, okay.
about. Let's do a roll call on this one.
Okay, trustee Bainan.
Yep.
Trustee Campbell,
Yes.
trustee Kazmar,
Yes.
trustee Ward,
Yes.
trustee Ziegler,
Yes.
trustee Zervis,
Yes.
president Larson,
Yes.
passes with a 7-0.
Perfect. Put that across the finish line. Woo-hoo. Moving forward. Okay, next, discuss and consider resolution 2024-21 authorizing the issuance and awarding the sale of a $4,814,000 taxable note anticipation note.
So, one element that I believe Gabe communicated to you is after we had our meeting last time that, the bond attorney said we should, one of these has to be taxable to just for future protections. So the one issue split into two. So you're looking at first the note anticipation note, that 4 million is the tax exempt. So that would cover, tax exempt projects, basically anything that's not dealing with the property purchase. So we took that out to bid along with B, which is the taxable. So I'm just gonna lead you to page 2, which is the bid tab. Right away on what I handed out earlier. Yep, the front of that says the 4.8 million. Make sure you're on the 4.8 million one. Page 2 of that at the top says bid tabulation. So you got 3 bids, but technically the Bank of New Glarus came in with 2 bids and 1, which is fine. But the Bank of New Glarus's bid that says 4.99% said you would have to move deposits to their bank. That was not part of this deal. I would call that a non-conforming bid based off of the parameters that we set out in the term sheet. If you were to kind of allow something like that, you're almost throwing out everybody else's bid because they didn't know that was on the table, right? So looking at that, it's kind of, you could almost cross that one out, but we kept it on so you guys can kind of see that there. Bank of Alma, that was at the lowest rate amongst the conforming bids at 5.53. Lake Ridge was 5.69. Bank of New Glarus, non-deposit, without the deposits, was 6.5. So what I would say here that I kind of quickly expressed to staff when we got the results is I think there's clearly a benefit to not only looking locally, obviously we allowed them to provide their input, but there's also other banks out there that are, willing to bid on this. The outside bank, did have a very competitive bid as shown in these results. They have their draws basically set up for once a month that they would prefer. So if you guys are suitable to that, that's pretty typical. The other 2 banks, Lake Ridge, did say if you make draws, instead of taking it all out at once, that they would charge legal fees for that each time, which they didn't disclose how much that would be. So again, there's kind of they conform to the bid, but there's extra costs that aren't, there. And then the Bank of New Glarus, like I said, 6.5%, kind of a whole percentage higher. So our recommendation would be moving forward with the Bank of Alma or A, given that they had the lowest tick in a conforming bid, with the understanding that they would restrict, we had the proposal form say, let us know what your, limited draws, because we always kind of get Wild West and it's just easier if they clearly define that. So that's shown there. If you're curious on what the interest would be on full draw on that, and this is all due February 1st, 2026, which we would flip into a long-term note. So you're technically, not paying this on that date. You could prepay it at any time. But that total interest, if you were to pull all of it today, would be 384,000 and change. So that's on page 4. So I would take A separately. These are 2 separate items.
So I just want to clarify because I know Connie would like to know this. These are drawable loans for TID projects. So it's not that we're going to take all the money at once unless we are doing something, right? So if we buy the parkland, 200,000, we draw 200,000. We only have interest on that. And part of that interest, when you were talking about the previous topic, the 3.2 million is that 384 on top of all the other interest that we're talking about over the long term of this as we repay it from TID funds. Homer.
Gilman said, so it's.
I don't know if Homer was fancy, but I should.
Yeah, well, it is, I'm sure. Yeah, I know. I'm wondering how that bank or how they are so competitive. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-21.
I'll second that. Now, is that selecting the lender as well, or is that,
Yeah, there's a,
It's all.
it's all,
yeah,
Yeah, that's the other document he, or that gave me about this one.
it's, got it, it's.
Yeah.
Does that say home bank?
Yeah, it's good to go back.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? So this is not just what Brian handed out, but the piece that Dave handed out here, that literally lists that home is lender. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries.
and did he have any empty spots on that resolution?
He did, he has that resolution number. That would be 21.
24-21.
Okay, yeah, and then at the end, just a signature. Okay, he had talked about that he might have some empty, like, for the bidding restrictions, but, okay, I think he got what he needed then. All right, just making sure. So then B is the same deal. We just had to have part of it be taxable. So we sent it out to the same, distribution list that you approved from last meeting. Just had a taxable, separate element here. So we had the same three bids, just the Glarus didn't do two bids in one. So the taxable one, if you want to go to page 2, just a higher interest rate given the taxable market. We are at almost exactly 1% higher. So this was not out of line in terms of where the bids came in for the tax exempt and then kind of the resulting bids for the taxable nature. Again, if according to the bond attorney, if the property purchase would have been tax exempt, you basically can't get more than 5% of those proceeds as benefit to a developer. So it would really limit what you could or could not do with that on the back end. Issuing this taxable just kind of leaves the door wide open in terms of what you want to do with the properties after you purchase them. So that said, Bank of Alma came in the cheapest rate again, and Lake Ridge was about 40 basis points higher, and Bank of New Glarus 130 basis points higher. So that total interest, if you drew it all, would be 265,000 as shown on page 4.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2024-22.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Maxine. Any further discussion from anybody? None, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries.
Just a note on that too, I'm gonna send the proposal forms to you, and you will need to sign that tomorrow at some point in time. Send it directly to both, and you guys can
Up down here.
figure out how you want to do
Send
that.
it to Gabe. I don't have the ability to print homes.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, next item, discussion and consider resolution 2024-23 to approve park impact fee. Update. Yeah, this is what we've already talked about, I think, right?
Yeah. The public hearing.
Yes. Adopting the facilities assessment, the needs assessment in the included 57.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-23 to approve park impact fees.
Second.
Motion by Mike, seconded by Gary. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Next. Discuss and consider next step for Fisher bequeathment.
So I'm not asking you guys to make any formal decisions tonight. The memo was just to kind of give you a background on what has happened so far, kind of get everybody on that same page. Allow you guys, while Rick is here, to ask any questions on what a authorized project could look like. And then the next steps is, there's about 4 or 5 questions that you guys need to figure out before we can really start figuring it out. Like, what is an eligible project? What is the timeline that you want this all to be spent? Who will go through the project proposals? Who is eligible for taking funds? You don't have to discuss any of this tonight. But all of this does need to be decided before we start really spending the figuring out what this game is going. So I just kind of wanted to get that going in your head, and then if you had any questions with Rick, as his firm has written the notice, agreements on what we've gone through.
Yeah, and just to provide a little bit more information on that. So we had a trust and estate attorney look at the original like trust documents that bequeath the money to the village. So the language in that is somewhat ambiguous, I guess. It's not, it says essentially for the goes to the village of Belleville to be used to support, maintain, and improve Lake Bellevue and the Sugar River. There's also another provision that adds the area of the Lake Bellevue and Sugar River. So we had another attorney in my firm who looked at it, who used to administer trusts like this. And basically what the village would need to do is any projects that you have in mind, as long as we have a good faith basis about how it relates to the support, maintenance, and improvement of Lake Bellevue or the Sugar River, that's going to be something that, as long as we have sort of good faith efforts to justify it, it's going to be defensible. So in looking at it, I think we can take a broader view of what the restrictions are on this money. I'm not saying like you can use it for anything, but if you're improving access to the Sugar River or Lake Bellevue, I think that's an allowable expense. Or like, let's say there's a beach or something, you want to improve the beach area. That's something that would be allowed. Or any projects improving water quality.
So one thing that Rick and I talked about, it would use a ton of the money, but you technically could pay for water quality projects with the bequeathing funds. It would use a lot of it, but it is a project that you could do because it is for the water quality.
So what we would suggest, go ahead.
I don't want to get off track on where we could use things for. Can you use it for recreational? Like you said, a beach, but what if you wanted to put, those inflatable things in the water or something?
Yeah, maybe we would. So what I would recommend doing,
The enjoyment.
yes, yeah, I think arguably yes. What we would want to do is like for any of these projects, basically like create a memo about what the project is, how we think it relates to the basically use or enjoyment or improvement or maintenance, and sort of justify it in those memos for the project. So when they're approved, we have like that written documentation, just saying, this is why we think it supports it. This is why we're doing it.
I think we gotta be careful not to add words that aren't there. It's like it's support, maintain, and improve. There's nothing about enjoyment. Which I'm just saying, but we gotta be careful about that because that changes it very quickly, right? Because it's like, I'm not saying like improvement, I think improvement, you potentially could fit stuff in there, but I think we have to be careful about that. But
yeah, because in talking with the other attorney about this, like we did talk about like the enjoyment of the river, and she said, that's a fair way of looking at it, but we need to be, like I said, specific to how is it improving, maintaining, or yes.
So there was recently approval of the board to purchase the north side of Larry Hazlitt's property.
So how does that fit into this?
So my understanding of that acquisition would be it's buying sort of like this strip between the right of way and the lake. So you're technically improving access. And at some point you could do like a walkway or, put a pier out there or something. So I think that falls, arguably within the, I guess, parameters of the original bequeathment to the village.
Even though that may not be something approvable by the DNR?
I guess you're still improving access, like you're creating a public access point. So people could still, like, let's say you build a sidewalk in the right of way, they can still access the waterway from that because it's village property, it's public land.
My understanding from Public Works is it's mostly about 3 feet across.
Yeah,
The public could still walk onto it and walk into the water.
so that was one we specifically discussed with the trust and estate person, and she felt it was well within the parameters of this.
Do you mind putting that in writing for the notes?
Sure.
Because I don't think it is. It's unusable. It's about a 10 to 15 foot drop to the water.
Do you have a question, Connie?
Come on. Weren't you the lawyer that was here when this big fight went on about this? Did you sit here with Jeff Odell? No?
I don't believe so.
How long have you been in the village attorney?
I've been working with the village for the past 4 years, and I know, like, I don't remember being here when there was a huge, like, argument about it.
I don't know why I think I remember you here, but anyways. First off, I would like it changed from Fisher family. It wasn't from the Fisher family, it was from Stephen Fisher. And it says here, the restoration fund is a bequeath from Stephen Fisher, which is intended to provide financial assistance to protect, improve the water quality, shoreline, and the nature ecosystem of Lake Belleville. Bellevue, sorry. It doesn't say that you can go do anything else, which I would like the bouncy stuff. I've said it before. I'm just speaking. For some reason, I feel like I need to speak for Stephen Fisher because he's not here and nobody else seems to give a rip. But I talked to his attorney on the phone and I did not mistakenly misread what he said to me. And he said that we had to be very careful because that is what it says, water. It doesn't say land, it doesn't say toys, it says water. It says here that we need to ensure any proposed projects mirror the intent of Mr. Fisher. Again, affirm that once there is a proposed use of the funds, it will be shared with the estate attorney. So I'm reading your words. Like I said, I would like all that stuff. But I just feel somebody needs to speak for Stephen Fisher.
Doesn't fall under it. You can't use the word enjoyment, and it probably doesn't gonna go in there. So.
Where are you finding the word family? A reference to the word
You
family,
have in here,
like you plural, because I don't personally have it.
well, I don't know who's got it in here. I don't even know what page you got this off. But it says Fisher family. And I don't even know when this was put in here. 2024.
Well, the April 7th, 2022 letter says use of the Stephen H. Fisher Estate bequeath.
This one says family. This one says family. I don't know where, I mean, I got it off of your website. It says 2024 operating and capital budget governmental funds. So I don't know, that was up above of what I got. So anyways, it's just that it's from Stephen Fisher. That's the way it should be read.
And I guess one other comment, just to clarify, so there are two references to the money that's given to the village. So, and it sort of creates some ambiguity, but it's like there's one in section 3 and one in section 5. One in section 5 says that it'd be used to support, maintain, and improve the area of Lake Bellevue, Belleville, and Sugar River. So it's broader, it's the area, not necessarily just the water.
I don't have area.
Section
Here in the bequeathment, it's the document, it's the actual trust document. It's page 4. Anyway, Ian, well, let's focus on this. Yes, but yes, it does say the area in that section. I think another section, I don't even know if it says the word water anywhere in the actual bequeathment document. I'll search for it to see if it's there, but if an attorney's saying water, that if you didn't put in the trust,
That's what Mr. Kringle gave me. A piece of paper Mr. Kringle gave me said water.
I'm looking at the actual trust that the attorneys for him drafted up, and if it doesn't say water in there, whatever.
He went and got it. He went and ran it off.
I'm just saying, I'm not blaming Terry for it. I'm just saying if the trust doesn't actually say it, we can't use that as a definition for anything. That'd be no different than us saying, oh, we want to put a bouncy house on something to improve things. Like if it doesn't say it, it's whatever. Anyway, we can go round and round with this, Connie. I don't think there's anybody on the board that's trying to advocate for crazy stuff that we're going to spend this money on. I suspect that we're going to end up being towards water quality and towards doing things to improve Lake Bellevue. That is going to be in line with what Mr. Fisher actually intended, but you're certainly welcome to share your voice as that whole process proceeds. I don't think it's going to happen tonight anyway. We're not deciding on anything other than just to get the board's assessment.
I'd like to make a motion then just to see if we can have staff contact this attorney that drafted this up, if he's still around, and have him come in. And
He's in
maybe
California.
Or maybe you can zoom in and he can explain what the intent was, since he did it with the action with Mr. Fisher personally. I would think he'd be able to have insight into clarify some of these things. I just want to make sure we don't, the village doesn't go ahead with something and then after it's said and done, somebody finds out, oh, that happened there. Well, how'd that get paid for and whatever, and then they go back and there's an issue with that. I just, so I'd like to make a motion on behalf of that statement of just, why don't we invite this attorney to join us to clarify?
Second.
Okay, motion by Kurt, seconded by Tony. Who's going to pay for this?
Didn't charge anything last time.
Who's going to pay for it?
Village,
How much?
I don't care, whatever it takes.
Can that come out of bequeathment funds?
Yeah.
They might be able to. We could ask them that.
I'm totally opposed to it. We've literally got,
I'm asking.
we probably could, but like what a waste of money. We've literally got experts in estate planning, attorneys that have been advising us on this for years, and we're afraid to spend money on something that we've gone round and round. We've got guidance from the attorneys in writing from the other firm, from our firm. There's not a ton of risk here. It's like we're aim. I'm not saying we need to blow the money. That's not my position, but to try to drag this out with more guidance and more advice, that's my position. That just seems ridiculous to me.
I agree.
Any other discussion? Terry?
Just two real quick comments. pertaining to the motion, it seems like I did read this particular part of it. There was already an opinion from the person who wrote up the quit that specified what he felt he was trying to say, number one. And number two, it seems like from what our attorney is saying and what's also in the documents, as long as you document it well as to what it's going to be used for and with the understanding that it has to reference what is written in the bequeath, then I think you would be following the rules, not the right word, of what the bequeath is cast or saying.
We run a list of every potential thing we might want to do, ask this attorney for his approval. If, I mean, what are we gonna look to
Well,
entirely? I mean, with each, how granular do we want to get?
and which board is gonna do it? If the board turns over in the next term or the term after that, are we gonna keep reaching back out to this attorney? Should we just pay the bequeathment to the other attorney and be done with it? To Ian's point. We can't help ourselves. It's like ridiculous. Anyway. I'll do a roll call vote on this one, man.
Trustee Bannon,
Yes.
trustee Campbell,
Yes.
trustee Casmar,
Yes.
trustee Ward, trustee Ziegler,
No.
trustee Zervis,
No,
trustee Larson.
No.
That passes with 3.
I'm sorry. I don't want you to. But
pay for it, huh?
I'm not making any motions. It's not.
Or do we need a,
I think people
budget
that put
amendment?
us into this mess that they should move forward with what they want to do. Go for it, Kurt.
It's just a fucking clarification, dude.
But it's money.
Oh,
Where are you
for
taking the money
fucking
from?
Well, we were so easy to spend $5,000 on the north side of a piece of land that's 3 feet long
Yes,
along a
But
garden.
there was a vote on it,
There was a vote on this.
but
What's
we
your
didn't
point?
budget for it. We literally said we were taking that from the bequeathment to do that. Where is the,
Isn't this for the bequeathment?
but there was no guidance in the motion.
What do you mean guidance in the motion?
There's no motion. You didn't say, I'm proposing that we do this and take the money from the bequeathment.
Well, you put it to vote and passed. You could have made a comment and said, why don't you clarify?
Wasn't in favor of the motion. Why would I do that?
Whatever.
No, like whatever. That's Robert's rule. I'm not gonna make a motion and make an adjustment to a motion that I hope failed, and I think it's ridiculous that it passed.
I would argue that reading the bequeathment, that it doesn't qualify as improving the water quality.
Correct.
Or the area of the river by paying an attorney.
That's why we need
to
clarification.
review a document.
But we have to figure out how you're gonna pay for it.
You may not charge it.
You might not, but
Give
if
me
he
the guy's
does, what are you
number.
gonna do?
Give me the guys, somebody get the
Okay,
guy.
I'll make
Give
a
me the
motion.
guy's number.
I will make a motion that if the attorney charges us anything, the trustees that voted for it pay for it.
Second, for discussion.
Terry?
What's number one? Can't be taken out of the bequeath. Number two. It's getting late at night and I can understand the position that you guys are in, really can. Think that you should, if you want to deal with this particular motion, that you could probably carry it over to a future meeting when you have time to think about it and calm down.
He's talking out.
To support your constituents.
I will withdraw my motion.
Want me to get really particular about Robert's rules right now? You second it, so you can't the motion now belongs to the floor. Since it has a second, the motion now belongs to the floor and has to be voted on.
I'm
Or-
okay with withdrawing,
Okay,
if both of you are in favor.
Oh, I'm fine with the withdrawal.
okay.
I will can I make a motion to table the issue till the next meeting?
So tabling is part of this meeting only, but we can just
Postpone
Decisions on this, yeah, postpone the budget impact on.
I don't think you need to make a motion to actually postpone it to
I
the
think we just bring it up on the next meeting.
guidance.
Reach out to see how much it costs, and at that point, you can decide if you want to do an letter of engagement or not. Reasonable?
Next item, I just. Yeah, well. Yeah,
I'm just gonna zip it.
that's fine.
Supposed to have to go next.
Discuss and consider beer garden ordinance amendment.
Okay, so here's a cost saving motion. The way the beer garden work right now is it's a yearly renewal. The application fee is $25, but we spend 4 times as much just in certified letters. A certified letter is about $9.70. We're required to send one out to all neighbors within 100 feet of a beer garden every year. So the proposal here is to remove beer gardens from license advisory and turn it into a conditional use permit. The fee on that would be $250. It's a one-time fee as long as nothing changes by the business. We only have to send the certified letters once, and then the beer garden is set up and good unless, once again, the establishment changes in one way or another that would void the conditional use permit. So we're saving staff time and we're saving a whole lot of postage.
I hate to ask this, but because this is moving to 6:15, does this have to go to public hearing first?
Yeah, it needs a plan commission vote and public hearing.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I thought.
I'll blame Ian off for that one. He wrote this for me.
There you go, Ian.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Okay. Well, we'll throw that out there and then it'll probably come back, but
Well, it's coming back, basically.
yeah.
Okay, next, discuss and consider Bell West Phase 4 Development Agreement.
So this is the development agreement for the final phase of the west side that's already being constructed. So far, we've had about 44 permits pulled this year, so 44 new homes built already. This project would finish off Cold Drive, extend James all the way, extend Margaret's and Carolina Avenue, and Sarah. So that whole top north part, all the roads will be started. If you guys approve this tonight, they hope to start that in the next couple of weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks. The only thing that's, I guess, a delay a little bit is we don't have that final letter of credit for everything. It is coming, but then we have the letter or like the notice that it's coming. We just haven't received it in hand yet. That is the only thing. Development agreement. Gone through.
So this is basically identical to the phase 3 development agreement. It's essentially just releasing these lots. There's no money that the village is putting forward. They have to install the public improvements, provide the surety like Gabe mentioned. So this is basically just the authorization they need to move forward with the final phase.
I'll move that we approve the agreement to undertake development for Phase 4, Bell West, first edition, Phase 4, contingent upon receiving the final letter of credit.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Maxine. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries 6-0. Next, discuss and consider appointing accurate assessor as village assessor.
So one of the tasks that you guys directed us to do is when you do a revow, the state statute, we have to do it. It's time to do that. And looking at costs, we have associated right now. We can save quite a bit of money if we switch over. And so that is why we have asked to do. Ian, is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I put in my memo all the specifics. Charge. What was through active appraisals. Yeah.
Okay, in here I saw it said external only.
Yep.
So that means they're not gonna go inside the houses.
Correct.
Okay? There are houses in Belleville that have done remodeling and have not gotten a building permit, and I don't think that's fair to the rest of us.
You can't legally, well, you could do like an inspection warrant, but like if you ask to go on the property and they say go in the house and they say no, you have to go get an inspection warrant to actually go inside the property. So there's not really a good mechanism to go inside. But that's a fair point. Like you're not able to see inside if you don't have a building permit.
So anybody could go ahead and remodel, because they're not gonna go inside.
It was a criticism of the law change when that happened. Chris is on the line.
Yeah, I'm here if you guys have any questions. If you'd like, I can also address kind of the interior, exterior motivations for doing different types of inspections, if you'd like.
Some for still being on there. Thank you. Please give us a short rundown of the difference.
Sure. So there's a state statute that came out probably about 6 years ago that basically says that we cannot force our way into a property. In fact, property owners have rights. So because they have those rights, they can deny any inspection. Most of the time we find that property owners that don't take out building permits don't allow the assessor to come in the property. However, if anyone were to sell that property on the open market, we would review that sale and update the information. So that would be caught during that process. On average, depending on how long people live in properties, the average, I think in the state of Wisconsin is, 7 to 10 years and then somebody moves. So we tend to update that information pretty regularly anyway. We do take into consideration other types of properties in the area. So if there is other properties that have been updated over the years, it's going to get caught in the changes when we do the market update anyway. And then during the open book process, if people want to contest their value, they have that opportunity to come and talk to us, share any evidence. And we also have at any point, if a resident is questioning the interior of a property and they want us to attempt to go out there, even in a maintenance year, if they bring it to our attention, we'll put a note on that property and visit it.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions for me?
A couple of questions. He's here this long.
I know.
Where are you located? Where are you out of?
So our main office is in Menasha, Wisconsin. And we also have assessors across the state. So we do have assessors in the area. There's one in Beloit is probably the one that's probably pretty close to you. And then we also have one that lives in Dane County. He's a field assessor, but he also is a statutory assessor as well. He's probably going to be the one that would be selected as your local assessor. His name is Alex. He's a young guy, but he's growing. He actually won our top award this year for assessment. So good assessor. We have probably, I believe, 36 different assessors across the state. And most of them, actually, I should say all of them are, including our customer service, are assessor certified. We also have 5 that are assessor 3 certified, which is the highest you can get. So. And you have another question?
Yeah, not directly a question for Chris, but do we have a contract with our current assessor?
Yes.
Okay. I will make a motion to appoint accurate assessor as the village assessor contingent on drafting a termination of our contract with the existing assessor when appropriate.
I'll second.
Meaning if we've got other projects they're working on or need to complete by the end of the year.
No, they should be good to go. Our contract went through last year, but since we didn't cancel it before July 1st of this year, it automatically re-upped. I did get in contact with Associated and they said just a simple notification will be enough. They've worked with Accurate switching files before. Perfect. It shouldn't be an issue. In the contract, it does state 60 days or it's either 60 or 90 days. But October 5th was the date.
Oh, it is fine.
The two different assessors.
Yeah, let me finish my thought on it. So 68th notice, so this would be effective. I already have the note drafted, gave the sign, sent tomorrow, will be effective October 5th. And then the difference between the assessors, that was in my memo. So there was planned to be quite a price increase in just regular maintenance, annual maintenance next year. So annual maintenance for our current assessor in 2024 this year was $12,200. Next year would have been $19,500, then $20,000, then $20,500, then $21,000. Accurate is a flat $8,700 fee per year for just annual maintenance up through 2029. And then the big kicker here is because their annual maintenance is $8,700 a year, and their revals, the market update and exterior inspections are about $10,000 less than our current assessor. It's spread out over 5 years. That doesn't save us anything off of operating, or anything of note really off of operating over the term of the contract, but it saves us having to borrow $80,000 to reval. So that $80,000 that we would have had to borrow in 25 can come on, we should be able to absorb that. I think.
Do you do any other Dane County municipalities?
Yeah, we have approximately 20 municipalities in Dane County. I can send you guys a list of all of them if you'd like.
Oh, that's fine. I was just wondering.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're basically, that's probably our strongest county. We do quite a bit in Milwaukee County as well. And then some local in our area, but we assess for over 110 municipalities in the state. And we've also, I mean, obviously Associated and Accurate are probably the top two in the state, for firm assessments. We're probably about half their size. But we also, we try to focus on, the municipalities that we're kind of close to. So obviously they have different areas that they're more stronger in, and we have areas that we're stronger in. So.
We've got a motion I made to appoint accurate assessor as village assessor with basically a termination letter to the former assessor, seconded by Tony. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carried 0. So next item is discuss and consider offer of employment for Crystal M. Brindle.
So the police committee has gone through their process with the officers. We've gone through interviews, the background checks. This is a candidate that is qualified for the position. I do believe that the police committee is done unilateral to unanimous vote. So if you choose to tonight, we will be able to make it into the academy next week. If you choose to delay, we will not be able to get to the academy.
Spring.
Make a motion to approve.
By Tony, seconded by Gary. I still have concerns from the funding standpoint.
So last time we sent someone to the academy, They were with us for a very short time. And we footed the bill for it.
She is willing to sign a 3-year contract.
So if you look at the second page of the offer letter, there is a 3-year repayment agreement. Enforceable as it is, not terribly enforceable,
Yeah, I haven't looked at it, but yeah.
but it does, she is willing to commit to the 3 years. If that is truly the case, great. If not, there's a ton that we can do, but you know,
She's a single mom. Military, police.
I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't matter what size, Wanakee loses them, Cottage Grove, every municipality across the state, it gets people sucked up even after they pay the academy. It doesn't matter what size they are. So this isn't something that a small town faces.
I will say my vote has zero to do with her qualifications. She's probably a fantastic candidate.
Right. I have concerns about funding this position also
But the funding has been in the budget since 2023, I believe, Gabe.
Half of 23, I think.
Half of 23. And we haven't had the position filled for this whole year.
And we're doing just fine this whole year. And the fact that it was budgeted doesn't impact other potential things that are gonna go on. So. Anyway,
We need a position.
I understand your position. I'm not in agreement.
And we're growing.
You take the money away, we're gonna have to come up with it in 26. So. Because we're growing, Cody has presented to the board, previous
26,
boards.
I have additional revenue.
In 2022, he presented that we're understaffed for where we're at right now. We don't have 24-hour coverage.
In any case. So Tony made a motion to approve or offer to approve the offer of employment for Crystal Brindle, seconded by Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
I'm opposed as well, so that passes 4-2. Okay, reports. I think they're all linked here. We want to go through all of them or
I don't have anything from CDA.
Public Works.
library board.
No. As we just did.
Economic development, we postponed a meeting till September.
Arts and culture, a selection of an artist. And move forward with the contract on that. And
It'll go in.
It's coming back.
We'll go in front of the
Yeah,
board.
it'll be on the board.
Next time, yeah.
yes, exactly.
Are they gonna start that this year then, or is that gonna be spring?
Everything's dependent on weather.
Weather,
But,
okay.
the consensus was potentially the beginning of October and, you know, if the stars align, 2 weeks to get it done.
Oh, okay.
So
Last item on the agenda is I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Questions.
Or you get a question, Gabe?
I have one question. Tony had made a comment that he would like GEC to be, an RFP for GEC for building inspector. There's two options you could do. One is we can just request a GEC send a different provider, different building inspector. We don't have to switch firms if that's one option. Option two is if you would like a full new RFP for a building inspecting firm.
I think that discussion would be next time.
But which one do you want me to bring to us in the next agenda?
I think you could just put a broad agenda item,
Okay.
it's building inspections
Well,
or.
So I will entertain a motion.
Maxine.
I
Maxine,
have a question.
you had a question, Maxine?
Yes. Maren, is it possible, I realize it's been years ago when I was on, but the last thing on our meeting agenda every time was it would list all the committees of when their next meeting is.
Yeah, we removed that off the agenda because we were then having to publish it and it cost quite a bit of money. And we instead put the calendars up on the window as a compromise to that. That was about a year ago when that happened, I want to say.
So it's totally out of the question to put it back in.
Also, mostly comes, it's wrong half the time because things change very often and we're publishing things that are wrong. That's my issue with it. Because when we publish a board meeting agenda, things have changed. And things change all the time and
Well, I
then,
realize the board,
We try and keep the website calendar up to date and the calendars on the windows up to date so that the meetings are known by.
I'd be happy to send you an email monthly if you want me to tell you what meetings are coming up.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, I'm happy, we can talk about how we can keep you informed.
Yeah, I just think it was so much easier just to always look at that than to look it up on the village board website or whatever. And keep a notebook of when meetings are. That's my opinion. Thank you.
I'm over adjourned.
Second.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Maxine. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 10:44 PM.
Amen.